Hi, this is Dr. Catherine West, and I have a short video here for you on how to search for an active bill when you're doing a healthcare policy analysis. First, let's take a quick look on how a bill becomes law or code. Code is another term for law. A bill is introduced, and notice we're not saying if it's introduced into the Assembly or the Senate, but one side of the Capitol receives the idea. So the bill is introduced, it goes to committee hearings first to sign off on things like finances and safety, whatever. Then once it clears committees, it goes to the floor to everybody in that house to vote on. If it doesn't pass, it goes back to committee hearings and it goes around and around. When it finally passes, it's sent to the other house. So if this was all the Assembly, now it's in the Senate. Then the Senate, or the other house, does committee hearings as well, sends it to the floor for a vote. If it doesn't pass, it goes back to the committee, or it might go back to the original house for additional responses. And so it can actually circulate for a while. Once the second house approves it, then it goes to the floor for action. If it's passed with amendments, then it returns to the original house to go through the whole steps again. If it's passed without amendments, it goes to the governor to be signed. If the governor disagrees, he vetoes it. But if not vetoed, most bills become law in January 1st of the next year. So again, the bill is introduced in one house or the other. It goes through to the vote of the people in that house. Then it goes to the other house for an action, and then it goes to the governor, and then it becomes law. So there's one place to look for legislation at the United States Congress, the federal level in Washington, D.C., and that would be govtrack.us. Notice that they look at bills all the way back to the 6th Congress in 1799. So if you ever need to look up an old bill to see what the original language was, this is the website for you. If you're looking at the current Congress, which is the 118th Congress, 2023 to 2025, there are currently 15,378 bills being considered. Because it's probably a lot easier and more interesting to track bills that are close to home, we're going to take a look at how to track a bill in the California legislation. First, we have the California State Assembly, and then we also have the California State Senate. They each have their own webpage with plenty of information about legislation that is currently in action and consideration. Those would be called the bills. Also, it's useful to look up your own representative to see what they're working on, because then you can find something that's extremely local to you with some of them doing the work for you. So for interest to find your California representative, the website is findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov, and you enter your street address. I put in the address for Azusa Pacific University, and if we click here, we can see that for the State Assembly District 48, it's Assembly Member Blanca Rubio, and for the State Senate, it's Senator Susan Rubio. I believe they're sisters, actually. And just by clicking on this, you can get to their website. So here's Assemblymember Blanca Rubio's website, and you can see she has resources and contact information in the newsroom. You can see what kind of work she is doing on our behalf. Senator Susan Rubio's website, same thing. You can see that legislation she's been working on for any number of years, things that are in the news. And the latest news, she has information on bills that she's been working on. This one here, SB 1230, the STOP Act, has to do with to enforce the removal of flavored tobacco, passes the committee. So let's take a look at that actually. SB 1230, strengthen the tobacco oversight programs. And when you look at a bill, this is from the Bill Search website for the California Legislative Information. It will open to the text of the bill, and you can scroll down here and read it. But what I want you to start doing is to immediately click on status. You can find a lot of information on the status button, But mostly what I want you to notice is this timeline here. The Senate activities are always on the top. We can see that it went to the floor for the first time, it went to committee, went to the floor the second time and the third time, and it finally passed in the Senate. And then it was handed off to the Assembly, and it's in the first part of the Assembly right now. So looking at this timeline is really a quick way to find status in the timeline. You can also look on the History tab, and it will tell you all the dates when something happened. Just look at the top one, that's the most recent one, and it says it's in the Assembly, and it was read for the first time on May 21st. So we can see that it made its way through the Senate. The Senate passed it, handed it off to the Assembly, and it's waiting for the first committee hearings in the Assembly. Okay, so now let's look for a bill. And when we're looking at the search field for it, from the California Legislative website, the homepage, we're on the second tab, Bill Information, that's Bill Search. You can bookmark this page. If you know the bill number already, you can insert it there. You can choose which house. If you know it's Assembly, you can filter for Assembly. If you knew which statute year, that kind of thing. Session year is really important because it's the year that it was introduced that becomes the session year. That also becomes important for your APA formatting of a bill too, by the way. And if you know any of these things, but you can skip all of this stuff. This is just helpful if you know it. And just come over to do keywords. So let's say we're interested in bills having to do with child abuse. We can type in child abuse as a keyword here and click search. Oh, great. We get 832 bills back. Whew, that's a lot. But, oh, what's this? SCR 134. Notice over here we've got SB for Senate bill or AB for Senate Assembly bill. But what's this ACR SCR? Let's take a look and see. Oh, it's a Senate concurrent resolution. It's not a bill at all. It's just a resolution saying, let it be resolved that April is going to be Child Abuse Prevention Month and encourage Californians to work together. It's one of those things, you know, with the big scroll that you can put on the wall in the office. So you want to definitely stay away from anything that says SCR or ACR. Those are resolutions. Those are not bills. So with 832 bills returned, that's a bit much. So let's try a different search tactic. Let's put, notice it says for a phrase, surround it with quotes. Let's put quotation marks around child abuse. Whenever you have more than one word, you have two words, if you want those two words to always appear together, put them in quotation marks, then the search engine will see it as one term, child abuse, instead of child abuse. So let's see what happens now. Instead of 832, oh, this is better. We have 98. So with 98 bills available, we can check some of these out and see if any of them are population health or nursing or healthcare associated bills in progress. Now let's look at another search for naloxone. There's a lot of bills surrounding making naloxone available to schools and that kind of thing. And I want to show you how to evaluate whether or not it's an active bill. Down here at the very bottom, we have AB 1233. And if we go look at AB 1233, it's about a naloxone distribution project to tribal governments in California. That sounds pretty good. But remember, I said check the status bar first. We look at the status bar, and right here we see it started in the Assembly. The committees are down the bottom. Went to the Senate. The committees are at the top. It passed the Senate. It passed the Assembly, and it's been chaptered, CHP, chaptered. If we look at history, we can see that it was chaptered by the Secretary of State, which means it was given its address in the statutes and laws of California. And right before it was chaptered, it was approved by the governor. So this is a completed bill. This is now law. There's nothing to advocate for here because it's been done. Here's another one to watch for as being inappropriate to pursue. This one was SB 513, Incarcerated Persons Mental Health. If we go straight to the status, we can see that, oh, it's died. It's no longer, it was first presented, it went to committee, and then it died in progress. So there's nothing to advocate either for this one. Okay, if you wanted more information, you come into history and you could see why it was held under committee and it was returned pursuant to Joint Rule 56, some sort of proceedings there, but it's an inappropriate bill to be presented at this time, and so it's no longer active. And you can see that right there. Also, too, you can, speaking of the committees, you can go right into the Senate Health Committee and see what items are on their docket right now. And you can see their jurisdiction is bills relating to public health, alcohol and drug abuse, mental health, public and private health insurance, managed care, food safety, health facility licensing, prescription drugs, emergency medical services, and related institutions. So more than enough areas in healthcare that have bills that would benefit from analysis. There's also legiscan.com, which you can choose the state, and it will tell you all the bills that are pending in California's State Health Committee right now. It doesn't tell you much about them, but it'll tell you what numbers they are. And then the California State Assembly Committee on Health, each house has its own committee. Same thing, you can scroll down and see what they're working on. Likewise, Legiscan has bills pending the California Assembly Health Committee as well. So I hope that helps you find a bill that's of interest to you, and one that is active and ready for your analysis. So take care and be analytical.